Good morning. Got a Nissan Murano in the shop today. It's got a pretty heavy oil leak. I already narrowed it down to the oil cooler O-ring. It's a pretty common leak on these Nissan engines. So let's take a look at that right now. But before we begin, we got the essential drinks on tap. Topo Chico and Red Bull. Alright, so looking underneath, you can see this is a pretty heavy oil leak. And right there where the oil filter goes in, there's a O-ring behind the cooler. And that usually starts leaking. As you can see, that's where it's dripping from. But look how big this oil leak is. It's running down the entire engine. If you get a Nissan like this and there's this much oil and it looks like it's coming from that oil filter area, that's what it is. Okay, looking through the passenger side wheel well here, I removed the plastic shield that was in here just to get access to the oil filter and the O-ring, or the cooler O-ring. But you can see back there, the oil is not coming from higher than the oil cooler. It's kind of how you narrow it down. Obviously, gravity will pull the oil down. So if there's anything above it, you need to address that first. But all the oil seems to be originating from it right there, this area. And it's dripping down, and then it's finding its way into this seam down here. And I think a lot of people might misjudge this as the oil pan, but you always look above first. So this is pretty easy to remove. The oil filter comes off, and then there's a big nut under there, and we're gonna remove that. It's kind of tricky changing the O-ring because you have these hoses, which I'm not gonna disconnect because there's coolant, but you kind of do it by feel. Get the O-ring in the groove and then bolt it back on. Here we are looking from underneath, so you can see right there is where the groove is for the new O-ring. You can see the old one is stuck. It's orange and it's stuck to the block. So let's get that out. There we go. There she is. Here's a look at the new gasket. There's the old one. So you can see like how thick. See if I can focus on this. You can see how much thicker the new one is versus the old one. So I'm just gonna stick this into the groove where it's supposed to go and bolt that back on. It's that easy. Okay, it's that simple. Everything's back together. The torque spec is good and tight. Just kidding. I'll put that on the screen what that actually is. You have to pay attention to, there's like a notch up here. There's a notch right here where there's like an ear on the cooler. Has to align. So you make sure it's flat against the block in that notch, and then you tighten down that nut. But yeah, these things always leak. It's pretty textbook, pretty common. So I'm just gonna clean this up. All this oil that's spilled everywhere, all over. We got a pressure washer, and then we're gonna give it back. So, got another one done. Thanks for watching.